On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, the parade of players returning for the Avs could continue Wednesday night against the Kings. Let's talk about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. And make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live, and make sure you're subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below. And when you do, chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. We'll do that a little bit later when we're going to get predictions for this game against the Kings. Could there be some more players returning for the Avalanche in this game? I'm not used to this. I'm not used to so many guys coming back, and not having. Well, I'm going to knock on some wood here before I say that, but you know what I'm about to say. So maybe I won't say it out loud and
knock on Miles' wood.
Yeah. But let's start with what we usually do, and that is have our morning leftovers of the most recent game, and anything that's kind of sticking with us. For this most recent game with the Avalanche and the Predators. Obviously still feeling good about that win. Sammy G still feeling good about his moment. He finally gets his first goal of the season, and what a moment it was to do it in overtime fashion. But like we always do, what's kind of stuck to the ribs for you in this game the day after?
Hey, you know what, Chris? I love, and pull the curtain back on Locked On Avalanche here for a minute. We don't do a lot of pre-production here. We just we get in and we go. We kind of have a set and we go.
And we kind of talk. We just say like, hey, we're going to talk about this, and then I just trust that you'll have stuff to talk about, and I will too. And then we just, and I don't want to rehearse it. I don't want to sound rehearsed. I don't like that stuff. So I have no idea literally what you're about to say. You probably know what I'm going to say because I have it in the bullet point. But other than that, go ahead.
And that's honestly what my big takeaway from last night's game was. Well, the game against the Predators, and it's for a different reason than just the better start on its face. And you talked about the parade of Avalanche players that are getting ready to return or returning deeper into the week. This is where it's important to have these good starts, not just because of the production and what the tone it sets on the game. We'll get to that in a minute. When it comes to minutes, that overtime, you were logging 24 minutes on Artturi Lehkonen, who just came back. You're logging 24 minutes on Nathan MacKinnon, 25 minutes. Like that's good. That's it's normal-ish, but you can't keep. And then you look at your fourth line, and they're not touching 10 minutes. Like
and that's kind of normal too for an Avalanche team.
But we also are conditioned to talk about, well, he's hurt, he's returning here. Like when you get off to these better starts and you start with the lead and you have a more commanding presence in these games for a full 60, you can spread this out a little bit where 20 minutes is about the norm, 19, and you finish it in regulation. Like I'm just as fed up with the injuries and who's coming back and who's not. But if you can get out to these hot leads and keep the momentum going, you can give yourself a rest in these games and limit your minutes. Because yes, it's great. We can roll these guys out here for 24, 25 minutes and that's accepted. But I'm tired of seeing guys like Cale Makar for like time on ice leading every year. I get it, but you've got to preserve these guys.
Yeah, and we'll get to the guys who are coming back in a little bit, but I don't think the Avs really ever want to press these guys as much as they do. I think they do want them in the 20 to 22 range, and they're getting in the 24 to 26 range, and that's just the hand they're dealt right now. It's kind of like, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like the guys that are replacing, they're doing a good job. The guys that are kind of replacing and like your depth guys, but I don't know if the Avs are comfortable to leave them out there for your depth guys, leave them out there for 12, 13 minutes. So you are leaning on your top guys maybe a little bit more than you wanted to, but we'll see. We'll see, as you start getting these guys back, maybe a little bit of a reprieve in a couple minutes here and there. Makar, he's always going to be up there. And part of the reason that he plays on the penalty kill too. So if the Avs are playing a game where they're committing too many penalties, he's going to log a few extra minutes because he plays on the kill. So, and he's just the best defenseman in the world. So you want him out there as much as you can. And he's young and he can take it, but you don't want to put too many miles on that body and, early in his career, because are you just going to burn him out when he's, hits that 30-year-old age range? We don't know. Go ahead if you got something to
say. And that's what really it really grinds my gears, for lack of a better term, when these teams start, you hear this conversation when teams lock up their division or their place in the playoffs and they are playing in garbage time, where that beautiful that 2-word phrase that is prevalent in the NBA and it's kind of sweeps over to the NHL, that load management.
No, that doesn't exist in the NHL, and I hate it.
And I hate when that conversation comes up, because by the time the Avalanche get to this point, you're so bruised and you're shaking at this point. You're just ready to get to the playoffs. You've got to do just a little bit of a better job at just conserving these guys. I'm not saying load management. It just bothers
I know
that some teams have this as an option where they're like, oh, we could give him the night off. No, and like you mentioned earlier, who are you going to have come in to fill in for these guys when they keep dropping like flies? We just witnessed this, and this team is sitting at 500 because of the injuries. You can't keep relying on the next guy up. You got to start forming an identity and keeping these players on the ice.
Yeah. Can I just go in on load management for a minute, because you brought it up?
I know it's your favorite.
and the everydayers know I am not an NBA guy. I was when in my youth, in the 90s, in my teenage years, being a Knicks fan and watching those Knicks rivalries, that was, to me, that was good basketball. Excuse me, I've gotten away from it so much. I don't watch any NBA, but I hear this a lot with the load management thing. I am so happy this is not a thing in the NHL. And Charles Barkley said something not that long ago about it, kind of just blowing the whole thing up. What are we doing here? And not only is it these guys are getting paid ungodly amounts of money in the NBA to take some time off during the week. And that's one part of it, but the other part of it is the fan factor. And this is, these are sports that fans pay a lot of money for you to make that much money to go watch you play. And then you're just going to take the night off because you play a little bit too much the day before or a couple of days before. It drives me absolutely crazy. And the biggest part to me where it's even more laughable in the NBA, a buddy of mine lives in Charlotte, and he took his son, they went to a Hornets game. The tickets were $5, right? They were upper deck, $5. He's like, I bought upper deck and just walked down to the lower bowl. Nobody stopped me because nobody was. He's taking pictures of the place 5 minutes before the tip. Place is 10% full. And I know, and I guess the Hornets aren't that good.
I did the same with Memphis Grizzly games, so
okay,
I get it.
So he sends me a thing he bets on that game. He bet on the game, not a lot. He bets $5. And he bet the under for the Hornets. The under for the Hornets was 125.5. And I go, wait a second. Hang on a minute. And that's the team that's expected to lose. So I go and look it up. Every single team in the NBA is averaging 100 points. Please, people, again, I don't watch it, but when I was a kid and I did, if you hit 100 points, that was huge. That was a big deal. Now every team averages. Nobody's playing defense. What do you need load management for? What do you need a break from? You're not playing defense. All you're doing is playing offense.
It's a shoot around.
I don't get it. So thank you, NHL and NHL players, for living up to your contracts and playing out the season. And the only time you don't play is if you're hurt or you are not living up to your contract and you get benched and you're a healthy scratch. That's it. Load management doesn't exist in the NHL, and it is a better league for it. Couldn't believe it when I looked up those team stats. It's a joke.
You get 15 stitches and miss 2 shifts, and you're right back in it.
Exactly. So, a little aside that I did not plan on going on, but there you go. And yeah, for me, quickly, you see it on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. As much as we're feeling better about how the Avalanche are playing, the start's got to get better.
Yeah.
It's not across the board. Everything is good. Avs are heading in the right direction. Yes, but that doesn't mean everything is buttoned up. And the starts they got to be better, whether it's just those first few minutes or the entirety of the first period. We did this so many times last year, Kyle, where you are playing catch up and you're playing from behind. They do well in that regard. Good for them. But I'd like to not be put in that position so many times this year like they were last year. So got to come out a little bit hotter, a little bit better, and you be the one who's the aggressors, make the other team catch up to you. And you're going to need to do that against this Kings team, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you could take your muscle car. Yes, they go up and down the hilly roads, but they're meant for like the speedway, and you can't keep constantly putting your car through that up and down when they're meant for the speedway. This team is built to get out to that fast start and go. Like, it's manageable, but things will start breaking, as you've seen. Get out to better starts and put some speed back in the game.
Yeah. So we'll get to that Kings game. I threw out a interesting question for subtext people, and interesting responses I got from them. So we'll get to them a little bit later, but could we see, I don't want to say new faces, familiar faces in this game against the Kings? Let's talk about that after this. All right, new sponsor for Locked On Avalanche. We got Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with the promo code NHL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience. And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with the promo code NHL and a $30 reward when you shop early. That's 50% off at Omaha Steaks, OMAHA steaks.com, and an extra $30 off with the promo code. Minimum purchases apply. Head on over to omahasteaks.com right now. Also, brought to you by Select Quote, the World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing, that is teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammate when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. Select Quote is one of America's leading quote insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. And you invest so much time to take care of yourself and to be the healthiest, best version of you. And Select Quote exclusive policies can reward that effort. If you're in good health, they work with carriers that could get you same-day coverage for up to $5 million. No medical exam required. So head to selectquote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. That's Select Quote. They shop, you save, and get the right insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. Go to selectquote.com/lockedonnhl today to get started. Once again, selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. All right, so some people getting back in the fold for Avalanche Nation, and like I said, it's just not something we're used to. We're used to that back and forth. We get someone back, and then someone else is out for a little bit. But we were hoping it would go this way in November, and we kind of had it like the month of November circled mainly for two guys, and that's Valeri Nichushkin and Gabe Landeskog. And then as the season started, you had injuries happen. You had Drouin and Miles Wood, and they get thrown into the November bucket. You had Arturi Lehkonen come back right at the beginning of the month. So like you're getting the band is getting back together, right? So we'll start with Landeskog because he's the captain. Everything revolves around the captain, as it should, or at least my wife tells me that. She's around Gabe Landeskog. And you saw some video going around of him at practice. He did make some moves like in the net front and kind of like skated behind the net. Not really that fast, nowhere near game speed. And then there was another one where he's just standing still and he's ripping wristers, which those look good. But you're standing still. I think people got really excited to see these clips of him because of what was coming out 48, 72 hours before in that, oh no, he had a setback. So it was almost like, okay. And Bednar admitted that. Bednar did say, yeah, there was a little bit of setback, maybe not as bad as what's been out there, but he's been having setbacks. And if he has the setbacks, we ease up a little bit. And that's what he said happened. And now he's back out there again. And is he skating? Yes. And nothing for me has changed. I still feel Gabe Landeskog at some point is going to come back this year and at least give it a go. But seeing those clips, he's a ways off for me, man. Like I don't think that's really changed. I really was hoping it would be so poetic if it was at the end of the month. If it was against Tampa, the last team that his last game that he played would be his first game back. You're shaking your head now. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. But when the schedule came out, that would have been kind of poetic. But when you think about it, like when you're watching those clips that just came out, like that, you can't go into and he knows this, but you can't go into an NHL game anytime soon moving like that. So I watch those and I feel like it's great that he's out there and it's great that he's back practicing, but man, it really seems like we are in for another long haul before he really is capable to withstand an NHL game and NHL hits against men.
I love that you bring this up because this is the equivalent of the Frankie Valli clips that are going around of like his shows.
It's not that bad, man.
No, but when you say everyone run to your social media of choice, Landeskog is skating, and then you go, and then it's the Frankie Valli effect. Yes, he is singing kind of these songs.
I mean, he does move a little. Like honestly, it seems like he's ready for like an open skate, not an NHL game.
It looks like an alumni game.
Yeah,
I know. So
I hate it. I hate it because I just want the guy back.
I do too. I know everything I said in the offseason leading up to it, which I'm now kind of leaning back towards that a little bit. Mm-hmm. With these videos, and with Bednar says, hey, yeah, we've had setbacks. Everybody's just like, wait. This is a normal thing. We haven't even played NHL minutes yet, let alone simulated games. Mm-hmm. Like, what are we doing here? So, yes, it would. He said when, not if.
Right. Yeah. I'm sticking with that. Like, if that's coming from him,
Yeah.
I will stick with that. Like until he says otherwise, until if he's the one that come out and say like, hey, I had a setback, it's going to be longer. Okay. Like I'm going to the horse's mouth with all of this stuff. But I also am going to take what I see.
Yeah.
And what I see is someone who's moving. He's moving but that's with nobody on him. That's with no defenders on him. That's, which I get. You have to build everything back up. But is it around the corner like I was hoping that it would be? I don't think so. And I think you did see a little bit of a setback. But what does a setback do? Does it push it back a week? Does it push it back a month? Does it push it back 2 months? Like I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But what I've seen him out on the ice, all of the clips we've seen him out on the ice from the beginning of the season, they seem to be. I don't know if we've hit a wall in what he can do, but it seems like it's all been. There's been the really just out there just gliding, and there has been some progression, but I feel like we've hit a wall where that progression is.
Yep.
And how long is that going to go for? I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those things where he, again, wakes up one day and he just feels like, okay, this didn't, I don't have to take this day off because it feels good. Okay. That's a step in the right direction. That's a positive. So now maybe it seems like you're just incrementally amping it up by like 1% every day. It's just from the outside looking in. That's just what it looks like.
Buddy boy, best friendy, pal. 2025 is right around the corner, dude. And I feel like that's when we might see Landeskog.
I mean, but I feel like there's an outside shot. It could happen before the new year. Sure. But would it be right up against that? Maybe I was going around Thanksgiving time. I'm hoping now it's maybe Christmas time, and that's a month and a half away.
You know what? That's
kind of healing in a month and a half. But again, this is a surgery that no one's ever had before. So.
What are you talking about? It's been a lot of healing for 2 years.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean, it has been, but like with this surgery, this has been a timeline with this specific surgery. So we'll see. We'll see.
You know what?
I just didn't get like, I saw the videos and everyone's like, oh, he's out there skating. And I was the same way. I'm like, yes, that's awesome that he's out there because of the news we just got. But it's not where he needs to be.
If we go through
I don't know, man.
If we go through one more year of this, I'll get my PhD in social media diagnosis.
Oh, I already have a PhD in that. I think billions of people do. But I'm still hoping for the best. So we'll see. The other two, Jonathan Drouin and Miles Wood, were back at practice in regular practice jerseys. So they very well could be a go for this game against Los Angeles. Obviously, the Drouin in particular, and Wood, I thought Miles Wood was having a pretty good season.
I did too.
Not blowing the doors off anything, but doing what they brought him in here to do. And he was needing to take on a little bit more weight because of the injuries that they were having. And I thought he was doing okay. I thought he was doing just fine. So when he got hurt was just not ideal for the Avs because that was when it was just, everything was imploding. But you get these two guys back, hopefully for this game. That's obviously just a massive plus.
And then just to remind everybody, Nichushkin on Friday,
yeah,
and a little guy that we've kind of forgotten about, Ross Colton. He's also out there floating around.
Well, they said 6 to 8 weeks for him, I think.
And I believe that was a week or two ago. So
I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I think we're still a month away for him.
But
I mean, that's a broken foot.
And the year that he was having, that's another piece of production that this Avalanche team is looking forward to having. So even though we hit that Friday milestone of Nuke coming back, there's still one or two more names.
Yeah. But I mean, for just this week, you get Drouin, Wood, and Nichushkin back, and you got Lehkonen back 2 weeks ago. If that's 4 huge pieces of this Avalanche puzzle. So
interesting roster for tonight.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that throughout the day. See if they if one of them or both of them are back for the game against the Kings. Let's talk about that game. Let's get our last break in here, and we come back. What do we think for this Avs versus Kings game in Denver? Let's talk about that next. We're going to hear from FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, and you can check you can check out the latest stats, view live play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit fanduel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's fanduel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, which is an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Avalanche versus Kings in Ball Arena. Always a tough team for the Avs, no matter where the Kings are in the standings. It just seems to be one of those teams like Arizona was. And the Kings always played the Avs well. Well, now they're off to a really good start, and you would expect nothing less from the Kings as far as what they're going to give the Avs, which is usually a very difficult game. So what are we thinking? We'll get to the goalie thing in a second, but I'm excited for this game because the Kings are playing well. The Avalanche are starting to turn the corner. They could get those guys that we were just talking about back. This could be a fun, exciting, entertaining game.
Yeah, because the Kings are at a spot where they are building, and they look formidable this year. This might be the year that they change the perception of what we think the Los Angeles Kings are, and a win against Colorado would help cement this campaign. But the Avalanche are sitting at 500 right now, and you heard Bednar in his pressers talking about the analytics and how he views these 10-game stretches. These games like this, like you're at 500, you want to get over 500. You want to start getting 2 points every place you can, and you need these 2 points tonight. There's no acceptable losses, and no, you have to dig out of this hole, and against the Kings would be a great place to continue.
Yeah, and they're scoring fifth in the league right now in goals for at 38. And goals against I think what's their I want to see their differential here. Come on, here we go. They're plus 10 in the differential. The Avalanche are still in the negative for the goal differential.
Not a surprise.
Still in the negative, and that's all thanks to that start. But the Kings just do right now everything very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a good defensive team. Goalie, we got our old pal Darcy Kemper. I'm assuming he would be in net for this one. So we'll see. But the people over at Subtext, we threw this out to them for predictions, and let's see, Madam Battleaxe, her prediction. So she gives us 2. She says if Annunen is in net, it's 4-3. If Georgie is in net, Avs win in overtime 3-2.
Madam Battleaxe, no more overtime this week. I can't do it anymore.
We can't do it anymore. No, we've hit our quota for overtime.
My poor caffeine riddled heart can't take anymore.
Katie says she thinks that the middle stat line will be Middlestat, Kovalenko, and Jonathan Drouin. And that line alone it'll have a 3-point night.
I 1000% agree.
I am interested to see what these lines could look like. That very well could be the second line, and it might be only one game where you get that line because Nichushkin's knocking on the door. But yeah, I think Middlestat and Drouin, that's kind of exciting. I think you got to keep Lehkonen on the top line right now.
Depending on the production, it might be one of those that you do get in a hole early, and to snap things out, you put Drouin back on that top line for that second period.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It's an interesting thing to see if it is another slow start to jolt this thing around, put Drouin right back where he belonged, and just see what happens.
Well, you can do that now. Like, you couldn't really jostle the lines because you were kind of stuck with what you had. I mean, you might throw him up there for a couple of reasons. If there is a little bit of a lull to start the game, throw him up there, get something going, and just throw him up there just for the heck of it, just because, and mix things around a little bit. So, and Bednar, we know he likes to do that. Let's see. Brandon says 4-3 loss. It will be a forgettable loss and one of those games where the Kings just get lucky.
No, Brandon.
I mean, hey, anything, you know, okay.
We can't lose on Grateful Dead night. It's just
that
sacrilege.
Is true.
Can't do it.
Will you show up for the episode if they lose on Grateful Dead night? Am I gonna have to do this show solo or no?
No, half of the songs in their songbook are sad songs, so we can do it.
That is so true. So you're used to it. I also threw out to subtext, who do they think should start this game in net? All of them. 100% of them said Annunen.
It's the correct answer.
I think we'll learn a lot about who is in net tonight in the thinking of the coaching staff in the front office. Because if they give it to Georgie again, then you kind of feel like they are not giving up on him, and that is their guy. He's the one they're paying more money to. Come hell or high water, they are going to make him a starter if it kills them. And to play him another game, that'd be 4 in a row, I think. It's be very, very telling if he's playing another one in net. If it's Justus, I would completely understand that because he was playing well. You don't want him sitting on the shelf for too long and getting cold. So, and it would be a good game to see what he's got against a really good team in the Kings. So I am really, really interested to see who the Avs go with to start this game because it will be very, very telling for, I don't want to say the rest of the season, but for how they're going to navigate this two-headed monster and their goalies. And Bednar said it. Bednar was asked about Kakkonen, and he said it's no secret why we made that move. Our goalies were struggling. They're not right now. Okay, I agree with you. Which one of your goalies that's playing well are you going to go with? The guy that you've will be 4 in a row, or the guy that's been playing well, and you got to get him out there to get him some, keep him fresh as well. It'll be fascinating to see.
No, it's what it's going to be if Georgie rolls out there. I love him to death. I do. But if Georgie rolls out there for the 5th game in a row, it will be dumb.
Is it the 5th or 4th?
It'll be dumb. It will be a dumb move because McFarland and Bednar both said in the offseason, we would love to get back to a 1A, 1B system. You had Frankie go down last year. You had to call up Juice. Like he was sitting down in the minors. He was not part of your team. You had to call him up. There was you did not have a backup goalie. You had to ride Georgie because that was about all you had. And now you have 2 serviceable goalies, and we're going right back to what you had to do last year. You have to balance this out. Like I get that Georgie's got a hot hand, but Justus did too until Georgie had a hot hand. Like you have to balance this out. You can't roll Georgie back out there and say, "Oh, he had another great game. Let's give him another start." And then you're going to just keep on going, and then Justus is going to get cold and colder and colder. Like you have to start him in this game. I don't understand why Georgie would be in net.
Well, here's the other part about it, man. Is like if you want to fast forward to when Nichushkin is returning, that's against the Capitals. They're playing very well. Yeah. They now have the most goals scored in the league this year.
Yeah, they just got Lars Eller, Avalanche legend.
They did, yeah. You got to take that into account too. You have a day off in between, so you would have to think if Annunen's not going against the Kings, he would go against the Capitals, which that is going to be that's a tough game too.
That's a Georgie game. That's the Georgie game.
It could go back. Yeah, it could go the other way around. So, or could it just be one of those things where the Avs just feel like, hey, where they're playing right now, we can throw either one in net right now. So if that's the case, then we got to get on like kind of a system here of what for every 3 games Georgiev plays, you throw in Justus, or every 4 games he plays, you throw in Justus. I don't know how they want to do it, but we'll see. I'm not. Who would I start? I would start Annunen just for the simple fact of like he's been playing well, so let's keep him fresh too. I'm not 100% sold they will.
You want me?
I'm not, at least for this game. And then if he doesn't, I would think you would have to play him against the Capitals on Friday.
You want me to ruin the illusion for everybody?
Sure.
At time of recording, Justus Annunen, 893 save percentage. Georgie, 863.
I know, and we're kind of getting hung up on that, but we can really you really have to start his save percentage like from eliminate like the first 3-4 games.
But
you really do.
You're doing that to both because Justus had to come in
You
relief
do.
and saving
Yeah.
those. You're grading both goalies on the curve, and
Yep.
whichever way you're grading them, they're honestly kind of about the same level right now statistically.
Right. We'll see. So not 100% sold on it, but we shall see. However it goes, we're going to be talking about it. So make sure you're tuned in tomorrow for that episode to recap the Kings and the Avalanche for tomorrow. But for today, thank you for making this your first listen of the day, and that is always appreciated. So for Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. And you also just got through another 24 hours where Sidney Crosby is that much closer to becoming a Colorado Avalanche.
I wonder if he listens to the Grateful Dead.
He's got some gray.